Hey, Sean.
Hey, nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
It's a rare occasion that I turn on my video for a Zoom meeting.
I'm flattered. That's great. And if we get any public, I'm sure we'll go black.
Yeah, hopefully no repeats of last night.
Oh man.
Oh my God.
COVID stuff.
That was rough. I want to know whose 3 kids that was. That's just
That was crazy.
Yeah.
I was like mortified by that inappropriate behavior. I was like, where do they were little kids.
Yeah.
That was almost bad.
I know. I'm yelling. I'm telling my friend who one of Olive's friends is doing online school as well, and she's here 2 days a week, and like they started listening to an inappropriate song, and I was like, what are you doing? You can't listen to that. And Olive goes, it's the clean version. And I was like, nothing about that song is clean. Like it might take out all those curse words, but nothing about that song is clean. Where'd you hear that?
Oh my goodness.
It's synonymous with clean.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Can you guys give me like 2 seconds and I'll be right back. Thank you very much.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
So Sean, I think you just wanted to do kind of like a question answer type of thing, yeah?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
cool.
I have a few questions prepared, and I'm also interested to hear, following up on a couple of the points that you brought up with Rachel and I last week, it must have been.
Yeah,
just kind of starting with a general overview and then following up with some specific questions that I have.
yeah.
Cool. I have a handful prepared. I don't anticipate it going on it should be under an hour.
Okay. Cool.
And if you or Sarah have any hard stop times or anything, I can accommodate for that and adjust accordingly.
No, I think we're good. I think we've got an hour blocked out. So I don't really feel like anything too crazy. I think just for some FYI, we do have some time blocked out maybe to talk with businesses next week and continue that town hall. I think we might try to do that again next week.
Okay. Yeah, I know there were some discussions of that at the end of, I can't remember which meeting it was, but do you know if they ever decided on sending out a questionnaire or an input form?
Yeah. I think that public health is trying to get something developed and get that out in the next, probably by close of business today, so that they can solicit some feedback before Sunday, and then we can have that all prepared for a call with the state on Monday. So it sounds like there's some stuff going out. We can definitely let you know so that maybe we can share the link with you or something like that. That might be good.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see it. I'm definitely trying to stay attuned with developments between now and Monday. Working on an update as things seem to be fluctuating rapidly again. I'd be interested to see any and all documents or plans that are being pushed out between now and I guess Monday or an impending meeting on Wednesday.
Yeah, for sure. I think really what's important to recognize that county leadership throughout the state as a whole has recognized that the dial metric worked really well when things were progressing in a good way towards green levels. But as cases trend in counties upward, the dial level one size fits all type of framework doesn't seem to work well. So it's difficult for us to be in the same dial with the same factors for consideration as like Douglas County, because we can't even compare. So there's a lot of conversation around that happening, at really high levels, but just talking about that a little bit. So cool.
Yeah, that was one point that stuck out to me. I think Colleen addressed it, and then other people echoed it at some point last night, talking about Lake County just not being comparable or under a lot of the same criteria or models that other counties are, and that seems to make sense intuitively.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see what that means moving forward as far as variances are concerned or different models. But yeah, I'll be interested to see any updates or anything that comes out around that.
Yeah. Sarah, do you have anything to add to that?
Sean, I'm sorry, my kid was heading out the door. Can you repeat just the beginning of your comment on the model that Lake County? Sorry, might be
That's
looking
fine.
at.
Yeah, just following up, Kayla was addressing some of the things that were mentioned in the meetings last night, talking about considering, I don't know if moving away is too strong of a phrase, but reconsidering the dial model as a coverall for every county within the state, and
Right.
just bringing up or addressing that somebody had brought up last night, this idea of shifting away, or the idea that that model doesn't necessarily work for all counties throughout the state. And that stuck out as an interesting point to me. And I'm just curious to see what that means moving forward. And I don't know if you have any ideas or projections for what that might mean, but it's.
Yeah, I think, well, and it's kind of a ever evolving approach to the philosophy of what that means, right? Because as elected leaders, we were talking with public health and saying, okay, well, you can't just shut down the businesses because that's, one item on the checklist of things to do to mitigate the problem. And I think we just have to be, again, like evolving that message. I think it has, and if you have any feedback too on how like to better try to convey this, I think we're all ears for that. But with reduced capacity, because Chad Most is leaving the Main Street, we lost Rebecca Bear at Public Health or Environmental Health.
When did that happen, that turnover?
Chad's last day is it the end of this week or last week?
Today, tomorrow.
Yeah. And then Rebecca's last day was a week or two ago.
A couple weeks ago.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, I mean, I don't know, as you might imagine, it's and Kayla's telling me I stopped talking. I think it's hard to like, it's hard to change your philosophy on something when you're like trying to enforce and trying to do that right thing, but then you got to let go of some things and pick your battles. And like with losing the capacity, it's like, let's not fight the Day of Rights and let's get, Kayla, we talked about with the city, like, okay, let's put some things on the, like downtown businesses that show that these businesses are complying and they're good. And then if they don't have it, then that's another indicator. And that's like a step that we're doing to educate people, to give them a heads up. Like if they don't see it, it's like, oh, why isn't that? And you have every freedom to turn around if you see that employees aren't wearing masks, like, because there's only so much we can do. And in general, the state is really relying on voluntary compliance, so what I think we want to see is look at the places where people are, highest likelihood of transmission, or too many people are gathering, and start there rather than just maybe like picking off some of the easier ones on the on that checklist of like, well, here's what you could do. All right, well, we could do that, but it's really actually not addressing like our local issue and highest priorities, right? And offenders.
Right, and I think that, kind of talking or adding on to what Sarah's saying about philosophy with continuing interpretation of that dial framework and how it works for everyone. We have to be able to increase capacity internally as an organization to address those pieces of being proactive about, education about wearing masks, education about transmission, you know, reminding people about what it means to protect your family and your neighbors, and that type of thing, because we have to increase capacity in order for us to have economic viability and to, you know, keep adults and children that might be in unsafe situations safe. You know, we had heard from the advocates that they had a big drop off in calls, but not because abusive situations or dangerous situations weren't happening, but because people weren't able to make those calls. And so I think for us, we have to figure out what it means to increase our capacity so that we can continue to reach all of those people, you know, and make sure that we're not, you know, putting punitive action to business communities when the spread that we're experiencing here is really friends and family gatherings, and, you know, it's barbecues, birthday parties, those types of things where it's like, hey, if you can curb that behavior just a little bit, do it on a smaller scale, you know, that type of thing, so that our business community doesn't have to feel the effects of it.
What does, and I don't want to go too far off into the weeds about COVID prep and adjustment stuff. Definitely want to bring it back to budget at some point soon. But just to follow up on increasing capacity, what does that look like for the county or the city? I guess I'm not sure if you can speak for the city, but what does that look like?
I think more staff, probably more public health staff. Public health has some care, so this kind of leads into budget a little bit. But public health has some CARES Act funding that they can use that's separate from the CARES Act funding that came to the county, specifically the county and city. And so some of that Colleen is using to increase staffing so that she can add contact tracers, kind of like project management of pandemic response. What else there? Adding additional environmental health positions so that we're not losing track of or losing sight of on-site wastewater treatment systems, because those things are still happening in our county. So people are still continuing to build even though the pandemic is happening. And so we have to be able to, you know, regulate the on-site wastewater treatment systems. And so adding positions to accommodate for that and our retail, food, and business community.
Yeah.
Does it seem attainable, adding those positions?
Yes. I think for us and for public health, it's a priority to increase that capacity. Sarah, you can add to that.
No, I mean, we prioritized that actually, you know, a few months ago, and through the recruitment process, just had some, you know, hiccups and finding and identifying folks, and then an additional person left. So, you know, it's unfortunate, some of those things that are out of our control, and that as we kind of talk about, you know, whether or not you believe in the science of COVID, if your whole department's out, what services are we providing? It's kind of that whole thing with limited folks anyway. You know, now we don't have the environmental health person who had built those relationships, and that's also what we're hearing. And it's like, oh, okay, well, you know, then you deal with somebody else jumping in for the interim, and who are you going to attract to volunteer for that job? So no, but there is interest, and so it is hopeful. But yeah, it's an unfortunate kind of additional challenge to the whole issue.
Yeah, I can imagine staffing in ideal circumstances can be difficult, let alone amidst a crisis.
Right.
Well, to bring it back to budget stuff, I guess I'm curious for an overview from both of your points of view, what some of the major takeaways from readings so far have been, how the budget is stacking up, and then I have a couple follow-up questions based on that. If we can start with just kind of a general overview.
Sure. Do you,
Go ahead, Sarah. Want me to do it?
I think we both should comment, but I think, so we are trying, it really feels like this like unfair dichotomy of trying to not add to operations, and yet the, sorry, I think you're frozen. I just want to make sure that I am,
No, it looks
Yeah.
like
okay,
It's
okay,
frozen on my end. I can still hear audio.
okay.
My personal computer, the program that I have, the Zoom client freezes up regularly.
Okay.
Will it be a disruption? Well, of course it'll be a disruption, but can I reset it and rejoin?
Sure.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine.
All right, give me maybe a minute and a half.
Okay.
Cool.
No problem. And we
Crystal
have
just
another.
got back.
Crystal did?
Yeah,
Ah, okay.
she's just
Hi,
listening
Crystal.
in. She's
Great.
here for moral support.
Let me rename you more officially.
There you go.
Do you guys take any, oh, I don't know if he's, let me pause that.